Shalom Chaverim and Bruchim Abayim for another special edition. Today is a very, very special edition of Pninei Torah, a program that is designed to invest in you as you come to the understanding that the Torah is given us for one reason and one reason only, so that we will know and we will recognize and we will prepare ourselves for the coming of the Mashiach. As a matter of fact, one of our greatest rabbis, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, told his disciples before his death to study the Torah, and when they study the Torah, to specifically seek the Messiah. That is what we are going to do together today from Parashat Achrei Mot. This Shabbat is Parashat Achrei Mot, one of the most dramatic, by far, the most dramatic and explosive Torah portions in the entire book of Vayikra, and one could say in the entire Torah. Okay, and today I am going to explore with you one of the greatest mysteries from the book of Vayikra. The title of this teaching today is the Violin of Mashiach, or the secret of the violin. You can choose a name. And I want to dig deeper with you today, specifically to Vayikra chapter 16. That's going to be our main text, and we're just going to look at a few verses, and I'm sure you read those verses before, as Aaron stand and with the two goats, send one to the desert, the other gets slaughtered, etc., etc. Today we're going to look at this story in a way that I am pretty sure you never looked at that before, and really we're not going to get very far. I'm just going to look at 3 verses. I can probably spend a month just teaching from Vayikra 16. One disclaimer I will say before we start is to have your Tanakh available. If you have Hebrew and English, it will be useful. If you don't read Hebrew today, especially in the teaching, there will be a lot of Hebrew. Don't get overwhelmed, don't run away. I will try to translate it as we go forward, as we move forward, okay? Now, when we study Vayikra 16, I would like to give you perhaps one of the best connection kind of from Vayikra 16, this event that we read here in the Torah portion, the Yom Kippur, the very first Yom Kippurim that the Jewish people observed, to the words of another great rabbi, Rabbi Shaul. Now, Rabbi Shaul appears in many ways contradictory to the Torah. In one sense, he says that the Torah is good and the Torah is holy. In another way, he speaks at ways that appears pretty harsh about the law of Moses. And it's important for us today, especially, to connect those two dots together. I think you will gain a great appreciation for Paul's writing, and as perhaps the greatest Jewish, one of the greatest Jewish scholars of the first century, okay? I want you to go with me for a moment to the book of Romans, actually, before we get to the Torah, and in a minute it will be clearer as we move forward why I'm taking you to the book of Romans. In the book of Romans, the 4th chapter, we read an interesting passage by Shaul. Let's read it together. I will use the TLV, but you can use any translation. It says there, "For the promise to Abraham, or to his seed, to become heir of the world, was not through the Torah, was not through the law, but through the righteousness based on trust." And I want you to put a real bullet point on this term, based on trust, because that's a term that might not be familiar to you, but to a Jewish ear, the term based on trust is a kind of like it's a aha moment. It's something very, very important. We'll get there in a second. And it continues to say, for it if those who are of the Torah are heirs, trust has become empty, and the promise is made ineffective. For the Torah brings about wrath, but where there is no law, neither is there a violation. For this reason, it depends on trust. And here you go, he brings this point again, verse 13 and verse 16 in Romans 4, so that the promise according to grace might be guaranteed to all the offsprings, not only to those of the Torah, but also to those of the faith of Abraham. It appears, according to this particular text, that Shaul is making the point that the Abrahamic covenant, in many regards, is superior to the Mosaic covenant in some way, okay? That's the point that he's continued to tell the church as an example in Galatia, okay? It is through Abraham that you are saved. And you see this point repeated and repeated again. And here it seems like Paul is speaking pretty harshly. Almost one would say he's speaking against the law. But he uses this term that I think is very important. He said, but through the tzedakah, okay, or the word righteousness, tzedakah, based on trust. He said that a person is become a tzaddik, a person who is accepted by God, not based on his action, but based on something that we call in Hebrew zechut. What is zechut, you minder? Zayin chet chaf vav taf. It's literally mean merit. In essence, he's saying that the only way that one can enter into a covenantal relationship with the mighty one of Israel is through a merit, okay? This is a very important concept, friends, because many times people feel that they can come in directly face to face to God, but that's not Judaism, and that's not Torah, and that's not the way Paul understood it, and neither are sages. The way one come into the kingdom of God is through a merit. For example, today we are going to count the Omer, okay? We are now, I believe, where we are. We are in the 10th day, we're going to 11th day of the Omer, and in the counting of the Omer, when we get to Lag BaOmer, which is the 33rd day in the Omer, we ask God to take all the punishments on a special place in Israel. We climb up to a Mount Meron, which is one of the highest points in Israel topography. And, you know, they cut the children's hair and say all the decrees, all the curses upon the child will be sent to hell in the merit of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Okay, which was also known as the Rashbi. Okay, that is based on trust, or as we call in Hebrew, zechut, or merit, in another entity who is a tzaddik or in a higher level than you and I. That is the principle and the basis to truly all of Judaism. And this is important as we turn to Parashat Achrei Mot. Parashat Achrei Mot starts with the death of the two children of Aaron, but I would like to give you today 3 points, kind of a beginning, middle, and end, as you can see the entire end time eschatology of how, and perhaps a question one would need to ask himself, how can one walk into a covenant that is based upon trust? Well, we need to ask the question, how did Aaron is the high priest of Israel, could he enter into a covenant basis of trust? How did he do that? You know, how did he practice this covenant of trust? Is the Torah itself a covenant of trust? I want to tell you and shock you that the answer is no. The Torah is not based upon the covenant of trust, not at all. Let's see actually what our sages say and what the Torah itself says here. I would like you to turn with me to Vayikra 16, and I want you to keep in the back of your mind the words of Rabbi Shaul, at what he just said. I want you to keep it in the back of your mind and turn with me for a moment to verse 3. And verse 3 is the beginning point. I want you to kind of make yourself a note. That is the starting beginning point. And it says there the following. Bazot, herewith, bazot, yavo Aaron. Remember, this is Yom Kippur, the highest day. This is Torah, friends. Bazot, herewith, shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering and a ram for a burnt offering. The key word for this entire text, for the entire understanding of Leviticus chapter 16, friends, I want you to understand in this ambiguous word, maybe we can bring the Hebrew one more time on the screen for the viewers, is the word bazot, in this. And the question we need to ask ourselves, the word zot or bazot, in this, the question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is the this? What is the this represent? Okay? It's okay, we don't know because the Torah is not telling us what is the this. What caused Aaron to be able to even perform the duties that he is about to perform? What is the this? The rabbis spoke in one voice on this. And today we will learn Hebrew type kind of together. We will read it to you. I want you to see that I don't make up those things. This is the straight words of our sages. And I hope it will give you a great confidence, not just in our sages, but also in Paul and the validity of the New Testament in this word. Let's see what Chazal said on the word in this, when they asked the same exact question. What define the it? And they say this. Let's read together, and I will kind of translate it to you in Hebrew as we go forward. It says, Bazot, in this, Yavo Aaron el HaKodesh. In this, Aaron will come and will bring the offering, a sin offering, okay? And then they ask the question, line 2, Be'eze sechut, in what right, under what authority, if I can kind of paraphrase it to you, under what authority nichnas Aaron lekodesh hakodashim? Under what authority Aaron will have the right to enter to the Holy of Holy? And here you go, line 4. The answer is giving to us. Zechut, through the merit of his actions? No, that's not what the Torah says. Zechut amila haita nichneset imo. The merit of the circumcision, okay? The merit of Abraham, okay? Through the merit of Abraham, it's the only way that Aaron was able to come in, even to perform what is taking place here in Vayikra 16. I want you to understand that. This is very significant. The only way Aaron can even be a high priest is because what Abraham did in the story of the Akedah, okay? Matter of fact, the Chazal continues, Shene'emar, as it says, Bazot, Yavo Aharon el HaKodesh. In the merit of the circumcision, Aaron could approach the Holy of Holy. Ve'enzot, and there is nothing else, Ela Milah. And I want you to understand that. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Then Chazal explain, they continue, line, I am in the line right now, it does follow Hebrew, line 7, it says, Mipnei ma Kohen Gadol mishtamesh b'shmone bgadim. Why the high priest is dressed in 8 clothes? Do you realize that, friends? I want to explain something to you. The high priest, if you go through all the clothing of the high priest, you can come back to me for a moment. The high priest wore exactly 8 clothes, and what it is a memorial, okay? All what is taking place here is a memorial for the Abrahamic covenant. You want to know what the Mosaic covenant is really all about? The Mosaic covenant is a memorial of the Abrahamic covenant, okay? It's a refresher, in essence, to us to return back to the Abrahamic covenant. And that is the exact point of Shaul, okay? The Abrahamic covenant is superior to the Mosaic covenant because it is the entry gate for the other covenant. In essence, a person cannot get into the Mosaic covenant without accepting very first the Abrahamic covenant. So here is Aaron. He's wearing 8 pieces of clothes, 8 articles of clothes, and it's a picture of the Brit Milah, Milah leshmone yamim, okay? And matter of fact, Chazal continue, and let's read the next slide, and they say, Shayachut inyan zchut Aaron. There is relationship to the issue of the merit of Aaron. Okay, not because what Aaron did. Sheikanes, and you see this word lekahak. Lekahak means lekodesh hakodashim. That he can even come to the Holy of Holies al yedei zchut amilah, by the merit of the word milah, as it is written. And then Chazal continue and they quote to us from Deuteronomy chapter 30 verse 12, I believe. It says, Mi Ya'aleh lanu hashemayma, who will go into heavens for us? In this case, it was, friends, it was Aaron who went up to heaven for us, okay? Aaron, in essence, the Chazal says he went to heaven and brought down heaven down to us, okay? But it was happened in the merit of Avraham Avinu. In essence, that's what he is establishing here, Aaron, a connection between the heavenly and the earthly. Now, I want you to understand what's going on here because this is significant. Aaron did not just show up in Yom Kippur as the high priest over Israel and said, hey, I'm ready to finally start working now and perform all my duties and wash my clothes. No, this is not what Aaron did at all. It is all coming back for this memorial, the 8-day memorials, 8 articles of clothes. Remember the Akedah. But there is something else that is significant. You might have not even caught it. In the Talmud, we learn that exactly 7 days before Aaron, before the high priest, did his duties in Yom Kippurim, guess what he had to do? He had to go to complete isolation from everybody around him. And we had to make sure that he is even worthy to do the things that he is called to do. And then on the 8th day is when he performed all of those things during Yom Kippurim. Again, he performed those things as a high priest, and people will say today, well, I can come to God without a high priest. Well, I'm sorry. If you follow Torah, if you study Torah, then you know that this is impossible. It is absolutely impossible to do that. And as a matter of fact, we read an amazing passage in the Talmud, in Tractate Yoma. And Tractate Yoma, for those of you who do not know, deals specifically, the entire tractate deals specifically with Yom Kippurim, okay? And in Yoma chapter 2, Amud Aleph, page Aleph, you see it is 2a, it means that there is 2 pages, there's A and B. And we read there, 7 days before Yom Kippur, the high priest was removed from his house to the cell of the counselors. In a way, he is becoming imprisoned. That's also very unique picture. He's kind of becoming almost like the leper. He is set aside. He is outside. He's cut off from all society. And another priest was prepared to take his place in case anything happened to him. You see, that was a 7-day, friend. I want you to understand, okay, that 7 days of prepping, it represents him being fit to take upon himself all the duties of the sins of Israel. But then something supernatural happened on the 8th day, and that's the day that we are reading here. And that's the day that he actually performed the duties that God is commanding him to do, to mediate between the Jewish people, the tribes of Israel, and to Hashem. What do you think would happen if we wouldn't have a high priest? There would not be any mediation between the Jewish people and reconciliation between the Jewish people and Hashem. It is important to know, though, that there is 2 important numbers here. The first is the number 7, basically represent the days of preparations, okay? Those are the day that he prepared. And then something supernatural happened in the 8th day. The number 8 is a number of supernaturality, like the 8 days of Hanukkah as an example, okay? Which lead us to yet another very important number, which is the number 10. Write it down in your note. This is important because if you know something about the Jewish calendar, you know that Tishrei is the month that we celebrate Yom Kippur, and it's always fall on the 10th day of Tishrei. I would like you to see what our rabbis have said. Rabbi Yehuda said the following. This is in Arechim 13b. Rabbi Yehuda said, the harp of the sanctuary had 7 cords, as it is written. By the way, the word there in Hebrew for harp, I want to make a note to yourself, is the word kinor. Some say it's harp. Sometimes you see it's translated as violin. Okay, I prefer the translation of violin. The harp of the sanctuary had 7 cords. So let's stop there for a second. What is being established very first by Aaron? In essence, although they are in the wilderness through those 7 places, well, listen, we still don't have a temple, right? How come we make sacrifices to God? The reason we making sacrifices to God, and it's permissible, because in essence, he established a temple without having a physical temple. We call it in Hebrew, Migdash Mu'at. Any place God says in the book of Yechezkel as an example, can be a Migdash if the Shekhinah, if the glory is upon this place. So the very first thing that Aaron is doing here is in essence setting a prototype, okay, almost like a prototype of a Bet Mikdash. He does it in the wilderness, and the key of all of it is not doing it by his own action, by his own deed. He's doing it through Abraham actions, and Abraham did. Everything becomes very, very clear. If you understand Judaism, Paul's writings become so clear. But please understand that the first step, 7, is just kind of like a sneak peek, a preview for the next step. Okay, and the next step, there are 3 steps here. So let's now go back to Arechim 13b and read that you have this understanding in the back of your mind. And it says this, let's start again. Rabbi Yehuda says, the harp of the sanctuary had 7 cords, as it is written. In that present is sova. You know the word fitness, sova. Sova means to be full. Sova, it comes from the word sheva. It's the same letter. Sova, sheva, which means filled with joy. Why we are filled with joy? Because he's taken it upon himself. The harp or the violin of the Messianic days, here we go, has 8 cords. There will be a special violin that will have 8 cords, as it is said, for the litter of the Shemitah. The harp of the world to come has 10 chords. Okay, in the world to come, there will be another violin, not with 7 strings, not with 8 strings, till have 10 strings, okay? As it is said, with an instrument of 10 strings and with their psaltery, with a solemn sound upon the harp. Furthermore, it says, give thanks, Shiru Adonai. Give thanks unto the Lord with harp. Sings praises unto him. That's from the Psalm. Okay? Psaltery of 10 string. It's talking about the Messianic era, Messianic age. Sing unto him a new song. Shiru Adonai Shir Chadash. Psalm 149. Play skillfully my shouts of joy in according to Rabbi Yehuda. Since in the world to come, it will have more chords and its sound will be stronger like that of a harp or violin. He called it harp or violin. This is absolutely important and significant to understand this. In essence, Aaron, through the merit of Abraham, was able to create for us a sneak peek preview of what it will be like to receive the 8th string, or to receive, or to be in the days of Mashiach, okay? In essence, this picture, Leviticus 16, is the greatest messianic picture in the entire Torah, okay? And then ultimately, it's also a sneak peek to the ultimate strings, okay? The ultimate instrument, the ultimate restoration, okay? Which is a violin who become a 10-string violin, okay? Now, we need to understand that God is also worked through music. Let me show you a chart, okay? This is a music chart. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. There are only seven notes, and I don't know if you realize it, there are 7 notes at all. At the end of the day, there are only 7 notes, and those 7 notes what's called an octave. Okay, there is a higher octave and a lower octave. There are infinite amount of octaves, but at the end of the day, there are only 7 notes that make different chords and different music. In the day of Mashiach, there will be an 8th note, which means, if I give you the mashal, the proverbs behind me, the world will change. There will be a significant change, not just in the way we practice worship God, in the physical. We will see a change. Why? Because there will be a new note, okay? That we have never seen before in the world, okay? And in his final restoration, there will be 9th note and ultimately 10 notes, okay? The world will be changed and transformed from what we know it today in the physical to the supernatural, okay? In a way that we cannot even understand it. And how this change from 7 to 8 to 10 will come, it will come through Mashiach. Maimonides says, don't expect the world to change when Mashiach comes. I respectfully disagree. The world will change greatly when Mashiach will come. Let's see together what Chazal are telling us about this. We read the following. Our sages says in the Gemara, this is very important. The word in Hebrew, nim, the word nim is the word string. It's like a string. And it's explaining to us that in the time the temple stood, okay, there were 7 strings playing there, okay? And that's is a replica. The temple, in essence, and the instrument in the temple is simply a replica, friends, for the things to come. Because here Chazal says, ach, therefore, but, la'atid lavo, in the future to come, bekinoro shel Mashiach, okay? Yesh shmone nimim. There will be 8. Why? Because Messiah is greater. He is greater than the temple. And here you see the understanding of this so clearly from our sages. Our sages' word. Messiah will bring a greater knowledge and a greater understanding to the world. Okay? And he will change it. He will have a greater octave. And la'olam haba, and in the world to come, yeh kinor, there will be a violin or a harp, shel eser nimim, as it says, alei asor, singing to him a new song. Why is it going to be a new song, you wonder? Because we'll have 3 new notes that we never heard before, okay? And that will be the things that we are looking forward. 7 notes make 1 octave. But you see, when he brings us the 3 new octaves, the word not only will be completed, friends, okay, the world will be changed. As a matter of fact, our rabbis explain, let's go to the next slide, that's good. It says, Shiv'at HaKolot HaHelu, the 7 that we have today, he explained the Divrei Israel, very important commentary. Those are the 7 voices that were used to create heaven and earth, okay? And what are those 7 voices? If you want a note, you can read about those 7 voices in Psalm chapter 29. I wish we had time to go extensively through the Psalm today, but we don't. But I will list them to you. Number 1, Kol Adonai al hamayim, the voice of the Lord upon the water. Voice number 2, according to Psalm 29, Kol Adonai b'koach, the voice of God in strength. Voice number 3, Kol Adonai b'hadar, the voice of the Lord in the splendor. Voice number 4, Kol Adonai shover arazim, the voice of the Lord who break the oaks. Voice number 5, Kol Adonai chotzev lahavot esh, who bring fire, the voice of the Lord who bring fire. Voice number 6, Kol Adonai yachil midbar, the voice of the Lord in the wilderness. And voice number 7, Kol Adonai yecholel ailot. Okay? All 7 voices make 1 octave. But we read in the book of Isaiah, and in the end of Isaiah and in the end of Revelation, that there will be new heaven and new earth that will come. If you wonder what the new heaven and new earth going to look like, it is these 3 octaves of Mashiach. And in essence, Aaron is giving us here a picture of those 3 octaves. How do we can achieve those 3 octaves is where we're going to go with next, okay? It will be such a unique voice because the voices here represent God manifestation in the world. It will be something that will change the world. Here's actually what Chazal explain about this violin of Mashiach, the notes of the Mashiach in connection to these 8 days. And remember, the Torah portion here said that in the 8 days, basically, Aaron started his service. Only when he took upon the role of the high priest, then the world could have moved to the next step. And here it's what Chazal said. Let's go to the next slide. Vezeu shlemut HaMashiach. I love this. And this is the wholeness or perfection. The word shlemut or shalem come from the word perfect. And here is the perfection of the Messiah. Friends, the Messiah will not be a regular person. He will be perfect. Chazal tell us that. Yehi akino shel chamesh shel shmone nimim. There will be through the violin of the 8-string violin. Kikino bet hamikdash. The violin in the temple was only 7. And the one of the days of Mashiach will be 8, okay? But upon his coming and returning and restoring, okay, we will receive the full 10. This is the season, I believe that we are already entering right now to a season called Yemot HaMashiach. You wonder why we see right now signs and wonders and miracles? Because the octave of Mashiach is already working. You know, receiving incredible reports from all over the world. But that is just the tip of the iceberg, okay, of the things that we are about to see in the world to come, friend. And a matter of fact, Chazal continue to explain that this verse, you see, we're just still in verse 3. We have not gone very far. They said that this entire verse 3, okay, this prepping, is a picture of the Mashiach to come. That's all what it is. And it's simply a rehearsal. Some argue that Mashiach will come only as king and is not come as a Kohen, as a high priest. Friends, that is not true. It is a lie. Chazal here clearly say that Mashiach, he is our Kohen Gadol, and if you don't know Mashiach today as your Kohen Gadol, you miss the point and the reason you need Mashiach to begin with. Okay? You need a Kohen Gadol to perform this for you. Matter of fact, Chazal continue and they say this. Veyesh bebchinat levushim. There is a clue on the article of clothing, okay? Elu kama madrigot, those represent the level, bigdei akeuna she'asa Moshe, that Moses and the people did, vekol Israel. Let me stop there for a second and ask the question, in order to Aaron to be inaugurated, and to walk outside for 7 days, and to come back on the 8 days, and to perform this, and to bring the picture of the Geulah, who is the one who did the clothing, who built the clothing for Aaron? It was the people, friends. Please understand, Mashiach is ready today to come back as Kohen over all of Israel. The problem is that he is today, we call him Arom, we call him naked. Why? He doesn't have the right malbush. Malbush is the clothing. Yeshua today does not have the malbushim of the Jewish king, of the Jewish high priest, because the nations have been held in captive. That's why it is so important for the nations to come and to be part of this tikkun in these last days. I hope you understand what I'm telling you now. You and I, especially those that now will bring Paul, who said that the nation has been grafted into the commonwealth of Israel, we have to work together in bringing his clothing back to his original condition with this 8th article of clothing, so he can perform the things that he needs to perform. But until we can do our parts, he cannot do his part. And this is a very different way of us Jews, the way we look at Mashiach, and the way, let's say, Christians look at Mashiach, who think he's just running in heaven in clouds and does, nothing. Us Jews understand that he wants to come back. The problem is not dressed properly today. That's called malbushim in rabbinic literature. And he wants to be dressed, and he cannot be dressed until we give him this 8th article of clothes, friends. Matter of fact, let's see what Chazal continue in the same passage and say. Kmo chen, therefore also, yesh bechet, chet is the Hebrew letter for equal 8, number 8. There is 8 article of clothes, okay? As the Malka Meshicha, here we go. The Malka Meshicha ובחיי 8 כלבים שעשה משה לאהרון. He will be just like King Messiah, who will also come with the same 8 article of clothing. Friends, do you realize when Mashiach comes, he will wear a similar clothing to those clothing that Aaron wore. It will be a chilling experience, especially for us Jews, as we see one that we're going to resemble Aaron. But here Chazal continue and kind of give us the knockout punch. And they say, Ve'al pi ze, and upon everything we just tell you, יובן גם כן, we can also deduce מה שזכות המילה נכנסת עמו. According to the merit of the circumcision, this can be performed, okay? In essence, they say, through the Abrahamic covenant, all of this can be performed. Ki al yedei, through ahavarat arela, through taking the foreskin, okay, and making a avdalah, removing the foreskin, okay, that's a brit milah, okay. From there, it is a picture, they say, avarat a parochet, okay. The parochet is kind of what stood, if you can look, it's kind of stood between Hashem, the Holy of Holies, and Aaron. It is a picture, the Abrahamic covenant is a picture of the parochet who separate us from the holy to the holy of holies. You understand, friends? Here's what I'm trying to suggest to you. It is through the Abrahamic covenant that we can come into the holies of holies. It is not through the Torah. The Torah come in the second step. I'm not saying that the Torah is not important, but that's not how one even can think about coming into the Holy of Holies. The only reason that Aaron can perform this, okay, this messianic, great messianic picture, is because he was willing to come not in his own merit. And I know I reiterate this point over and over again, but this is such an important point to understand. So in this essence, here's what we established so far, just from one verse. We need a Mashiach. This Mashiach is going to come in not on his own merit, in the merit of Avraham Avinu, okay? And he is going to atone for the sins of Israel. But I would like to tell you that the end goal of the entire chapter 16, is not atonement. It's something else, okay? It is what we call in Hebrew, tehara. So we look at verse 3, kind of so far. Now I want to take you to the end of the chapter, to the conclusion of what this is truly all about. It's not about just our sin being forgiven. It's about something much more significant. Let's look at Vayikra 16, verse 30. It says there, Ki bayom hazeh. And Chazal were very concerned about this word, bayom hazeh. Why does it say bayom hazeh, in that day? I already explained to you, especially to my students, that in that day, every time you see the term bayom hazeh or bayom hahu, it is talking about the day of the conclusion, of the fulfillment, the day this tenth string, the tenth string of the violin will be finally revealed and complete. Okay, this is kind of interesting. And it says, for on that day shall atonement be made for you. And the term here, you, in Hebrew, please understand, is not a singular term. It's not talking about an individual. It's not for Rabbi Shapira. It is alechem. The word you in Hebrew can be a plural and can be a singular. The word you here is a plural, alechem, upon all of Israel. That is the event. Paul says, all of Israel shall be saved. This is this day. Okay, as a second we will see, to cleanse you. That's the Hebrew word tehara. Okay, from all your sins shall be clean before Adonai. Lifnei Adonai titaharu, before the Lord. Friends, what this is really about is not just about Aaron standing and kind of wiping our sins and say, okay, don't do it again. But it is really about us receiving Torah. And the word Torah, cleansing, talking about change that is inside. This is the event that we know as the event of the receiving of the new covenant written upon our hearts, okay? Mikol chatotechem, okay? Tehara, it's changing and receiving a new heart. In that day I will give you a new heart, I will write it upon your hearts, etc., etc. Friend, this is this event, okay? The Jeremiah 31 event. Jeremiah 31 has not yet fully fulfilled, because Messiah has not fully returned yet, just as FYI. It is in the process of being fulfilled in front of our eyes. But it's talking about our change of nature. So today, you who receive Mashiach, right, just like the Jewish people receive Aaron, they'll receive a temporary remedy, okay? But those who receive Mashiach today receive a new heart. They receive a change. There's a transformation. And the word Tehara is not just saying you're clean on the outside. You are clean on the inside because something in you have changed. In essence, you become like this human violin. You went from 7 to 8 to 10. You become a complete, okay? But here it's talking about all of Israel becoming complete. So what Chazal said on this, Bayom Hazeh, what our sages say about this, is this a Messianic verse? Friends, our sages, and that's why I'm so passionate about giving you those teachings. I want you to understand everything point to Mashiach. I want you to see for a moment what Chazal, there is Rabbi Rabbeinu Yoel Zichrono Levracha, what he said on this verse, and I read to you in Hebrew. Let's go there together. He says, Ki bayom hazeh yechaper alechem letaer etchem. For on that day shall the atonement be made for you, okay? Here it's what it's mean. It's mean that he will cleanse you, okay, from any transgression of the Torah, as we see in the ethics of the Father. As Israel walk, okay, God, as Israel practice the Torah, God going to come and basically say, stop it, stop it, stop it. Let me teach you how to do it properly. And he is going to teach us this Torah. He will purify our action and our work and our motivation. And here is the key. The third line, after the comma. Ule'atid. Le'atid in Hebrew means in the future, lavo, to come. Sheyavo Meshichenu, that the Messiah will come. And through Messiah coming, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem purify us, as it is quoted in the book of Yechezkel, Ezekiel 36. Let's go to the next slide and see what Ezekiel 36:25 said. And I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean from all your uncleanliness, and from all your idols will I cleanse you. Do you realize, brothers and sisters, that Chazal connected Achrei Mot, Parashat Achrei Mot, and the event that Aaron is doing, not even in his own merit, okay? Just like Yeshua didn't do anything in his own merit. He did everything in the merit of his heavenly Father, okay? That in the future to come, Mashiach will fulfill. Yechezkel is a fulfillment of the verse that what we were just read upon the Torah. He will pour upon us water. And what is water? Water in Jewish thought is a picture of the Ruach HaKodesh. Okay? Again, the Ruach HaKodesh, we're counting right now, the counting of the Omer toward Shavuot. The Ruach HaKodesh was there before Acts chapter 2. The Ruach HaKodesh was there in Genesis 1. But there is something unique that is going to happen in the future. Okay? Kind of talking about the 8th string and the 9th string and the 10th string of the violin. Here's what's going to happen. It's going to be poured upon us in a way that we cannot even consume it. It's going to be so overwhelming, okay? And we're looking forward for that day. And simply what Yom Kippur is a rehearsal. It's not even the real thing, please understand. We observe Yom Kippur, sure, but it is simply a rehearsal for what Mashiach is going to do. And if one walk into Yom Kippur without seeking Mashiach, who is high priest, he missed the point of the Yom Kippurim and the prophetic meaning behind Yom Kippur. Okay? I love what Chazal says about this, and we read together. They say, next slide, Yom Kippurim ze, וזה בא לכפר על החומר, לתקנן מחלודת עוון. The Yom Kippur come to repair us from the rustiness of the sin, okay? That's basically what Chazal said, okay? And then they continue, it says, the third paragraph, the kol ze, and all of those things we're doing in Yom Kippur, here you go, siman, it is a sign for geula, for redemption, cherut, freedom, la neshama, to our neshama, to our soul. Therefore, we are saying, B'motzai Yom Kippur, we are saying in the end of Yom Kippur, how many blowing of the shofar we do? We just do one tkiya. Tok'im tkiya achat. One tkiya. Okay? Why? Chazal said here, it is to remind us the tekiya of the Jubilee. Okay? Yom Kippur is not a day we are supposed to come in and just pray and say, oh God, forgive us. It is a day of freedom. It's a day that we will be, the captive will be set free. Okay? That's why I personally believe that Mashiach will appear in Yom Kippurim. That's my personal thought, but not just mine, of the rabbis. Okay? And it says, Bayom echad, הגאולה, the redemption הגופנית, your physical והנפשית, will resemble the Geulah that will come in the great voice of shofar. And they actually quoted Isaiah 27:23, and they say, Bayomahu, in that day, Itkashma shofar gadol, we will hear the great shofar. Again, it will be a great blast. We are just looking forward. So you see, the Torah verse 3 start with, okay, how do we get to this point? Kind of not even how do we get, what is the status? Where is our status as a Jewish people? And we recognize we need a high priest. That's kind of a verse 3. And even Aaron is not good enough to be a high priest, okay? Only through the merit of Abraham he can do it. Verse 30 telling us, okay, here's the conclusion, what's going to happen when we have a high priest, okay? But there is a little bit more. Last paragraph, friends. I realize today's teaching is very detailed, but I hope you are following it, and I hope it's come clearly to you. And it says in the last paragraph, Velefi, and therefore, by Shebayom Hahu, in that day, Yeh Adonai Echad, the Lord will be one. On this reason, we are saying in Yom Kippur, Shema Yisrael, one time. Friends, do you realize that? We say Shema Yisrael one time. Baruch Shemalchuto, Leolam, ועד 3 times, against the 3 worlds. And what are those 3 worlds represent? The 7, the 8, and the 10th. Our place today in this world, our 8 in the age of Mashiach, and 10 upon Messiah return. Okay? Ve'Adonai hu Elohim. How many times we say Adonai Elohim? 7 times. Against what? Against the 7 heaven. Okay? That is an important thing. Let me show you a little chart that I put together that might make a lot of sense to do. Yom Kippurim, make yourself a note. Yom Kippurim is a rehearsal, and the star of Yom Kippurim is the high priest. Yom Kippurim is celebrated in the 7th month, okay? It's represented as the 7th month, okay? And in the 8th day is the day that actually Yom Kippurim, all the performance of the service by Aaron took place, okay? And basically he counted 7 days back, and the 8th day it's happened. And what day is it? It's in the 10th day of the month that is called Tishrei. You see this picture of the prophetic, incredible picture of the violin of Mashiach, okay? Who will come in the 7th month and will appear, in my opinion, in the 10th day, which is Yom Kippurim, to fulfill all of those things, okay? So this is kind of the way our sages saw that. And matter of fact, our sages continue to understand that there is this song that will be singing. The idea behind the 10, okay, is very important. Let's see what Chazal says on this. They said the following. Kinor, let's go to the next slide. Kinor shel Yemot HaMashiach yeh shmona nimim. In essence, when Messiah is just about to arrive, we will start to see signs and wonders and miracles, because it's this. But there is one in the world to come, okay? The one in the world to come that will be in 10, because it will be complete. And think about it. In how many words God created heaven and earth? Okay? It says in Pirkei Avot that is in 10 articles God created the heaven and earth. When he restored the violin of Mashiach, in how many octaves will we have? How many notes will we have? 10. In essence, God is going to recreate not just the humanity, but he's by transforming us, he's going to recreate heaven and earth. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There will be a change on the heavenly and the earthly that we cannot even understand today. Okay? That's why the 7th day before Yom Kippurim, they call in Hebrew, they have a name, here we see it in Chazal, and they say it's called Shivat Yemei Amiluim. Now let me explain to you for a moment what Shivat Yemei Miluim is. You can kind of perhaps relate to it if you serve in the military. Shivat Yemei Miluim is a times that you go into reserve duty. You're not actually serving, you're practicing, you're training. You're not actually in the battlefield, okay? Those Shivat Yemei Miluim is the era where we are now, okay? And Chazal say, Bayom Hashmini, they explain, Bayom Hashmini, it's interesting that it calls Zehu Abina. This is the day of the Bina, okay? And who is the Bina? The Bina is the name Ben of Yah. This is the day of the Ben of Yah. This is the day that the Son of God will appear. Friends, we are in the Messianic era already when the Bina, listen, this is incredible. The Son of God has already appeared 2,000 years ago. There's signs, there's wonders, there's miracles, but it is nothing. It is nothing yet, but it's greater than the 7. And that's why Yeshua says that one that's greater than the temple is standing right here with you. Okay, this is very significant. Okay, but he is going to come in another octave, in another level that we cannot even understand. Okay, Chazal explained this 7 days prepping before Aaron can even perform anything like that. They say, Ulachen, the next slide, Ulachen, therefore, כיום שיום השמיני למילואים, נטל 10 עטרות רמז לכינור. The eighth day is going to lead us to the final redemption of Mashiach. And here you see it very clearly. Mashiach going to come and appear in the world twice. Once he's going to appear kind of in this miluim. He's coming, but it's still not the day of battle. He's kind of coming. That's what Yeshua have done. He came down to do something specific, but he's not yet in the battle. But in the next time he's coming with the 10 crowns upon his head. That's what Chazal says here. And he will come, will be riding upon a ladder. That's what the Hebrew says, riding upon the letter Zion, okay? In the 8 days, he's going to appear as the Ben of Yeah. So here is the $1,000,000 question, friends, that we all have to ask ourselves today. If we are already passed from this seventh stage to the eighth stage, how do we get from the eighth stage to the 10th stage, the ultimate fulfillment of all things? The ultimate fulfillment of those things that we read about here in the Torah portion take place from verse 3 all the verse to verse 30. And we're just going to look at a few verses so that we understand what we can do, what God has put. He put his entire prophetic roadmap, right here in this Torah portion. I want you to see that with me. And then we will conclude. It says the following, verse 7, and he shall take the 2 goats and set them before the Lord at the door of the tent of meeting. And Aaron shall cast lots upon the 2 goats, one lot for the Lord, and the other one to the Lord for Azazel. And Aaron shall present the goat upon which the lot fell for the Lord, and offer it to him as a sin offering. There are a few glazing questions that we have to ask ourselves. Who are those 2 goats? Why both goats have to die? What is representing in the prophetic realm? I'm going to challenge everything you probably heard about this particular passage. And by the way, you don't have to agree with me, but that's the way at least Judaism understand those passages. As they ask the question, the exact same question, what are those goats represent? The Hebrew word for goat also is very important, friend. It's the word seir, okay? And in a second, it will become very clear to you why it is so significant. Rabbi Al-Shich, one of our famous great rabbis, asked this exact same question. And here is the way he explained it. And he says this. And I'm just going to read a few lines. It says, לא נאמר כאן, it doesn't say to bring a goat ביום הכיפורים, אלא דקשה למה באמת לא ציווה להביא קורבן נגד יעקב, אלא שנאמר שבא להזכיר את זכות העקידה. So he's coming back to the concept of the akeda, of the binding of Isaac, to explain that there is a merit here to the story of the binding, but then he said, לכן, therefore, ציווה להזכיר את זכות העוקד, the one who does the binding, and the one that is binded. The 2 goats represent in this story, friends, the one that does the binding and the one that is getting binded. Now, you might think that it represents Abraham and Isaac, but the 2 goats, specifically the one that is being binded, is, a little drum rolls here, and we read. It says, Ve'oto asair, the one that is being sent to Azazel, that is sent to hell, the last line of the first paragraph, who remez, it's a clue for Esau. Do you want to know who is the one that is actually being binded here? Chazal says that the one that's being binded to go to hell is Esau. Okay, that is absolutely amazing, because Esau, if you just take the letters Esau and you flip the letters of the name Esav, you get the name Yeshua. And Chazal connected between Esau and Yeshua all throughout the scriptures. Now they continue and they explain, okay, let's read a little bit more. Why is it Esav? שלא נתקיימה ברכת יצחק יעקב, מה הועיל ברמאות שרימה את עשיו? Okay, he's talking about, again, Genesis chapter 25, about the trickery of Yaakov. One of the goats is Yaakov, who represent the Jewish people. The other goat represent Esav, Esav is a picture of the Christians, actually, okay? But look what happened here. שיקבל השעיר זה עשיו עליו. Esav has taken upon himself, Esav, or really, a picture of Esav is a picture of Yeshua, will take upon himself all the avonot, all the sins of Yaakov, who is Ishtam. It says on Yaakov that he was blameless. How come Yaakov become blameless? The rabbi explained. This is the only way that Yaakov or Israel or the Jewish people become blameless is by taking upon himself, by Esav. Here you go. Let's go back to this. Unasa aseir alav. Okay? Unasa aseir alav et kol avonot. Esav take upon himself all the sins of Yaakov. Friend, that is the prophetic meaning of this Torah portion. The reason that there are two goats, it is because Esav is Yeshua. He's also called Edom, and he's also called, what Esav called? Esav was hairy. He says that his arms were hairy. The word hair in Hebrew is the word seir. Let's go back two slides back to the Torah portion. What does it says? Velakach et shnei aseirim. What is Sa'ir? Sa'ir is the word hairy. Who was hairy? It was Esav. It's a prophetic picture of Esav, who is taking upon himself the sins of Yaakov. Okay? And a matter of fact, the rabbis conclude this in such an amazing way. And they said this, Vayitbaer העניין. The matter become clear. According to Parashat Kitavo and according to Parashat Nitzavim. As it says according to the passage, so Esav returned to Seir and Yaakov went to Sukkah. Okay? In a second we look at those verses straight from the Torah. Those are prophetic verses that after they have met, Esav went to a place called Seir. Why? Because that's a prophetic picture of Esav taking upon himself the sins of Yaakov, who tricked him, actually, okay? The Yaakov, on the other hand, it said, and רוצה לומר, on the other hand, Yaakov, קיבל על עצמו, he took upon himself, עניין Gelut Edom. Who is the one called Edom? Red? Esav. Yaakov accepted the fact that Esav is going to leave. Okay? שנרמז בעניין סוכה. Okay? כמו שנאמר, מה שנגד כן, as it says, Esav took upon himself to go and take the sin of Yaakov. Okay? And that's what I want to say about it. That's kind of the way he concluded it. Laset Aven on Yaakov. This is very, very important. In essence, let me put it to you in a way that we all understand. Yaakov went into the blessing. Esav went into spiritual or physical diaspora in the behind of Yaakov. He didn't take the blessing. He became, in essence, he became a curse, even. Okay, became a curse because he took upon himself all the sins of Yaakov. And where he did it, he went to a place called Edom. Friends, the word Edom in Hebrew represents Christianity. In essence, the prince of Edom was gone. He left to Edom for the behalf of the Jewish people. Okay? Yeshua today is with the Christians, okay? Because he's interceding even today for the Jewish people. And matter of fact, here's what the Torah said. So Esau returned that day on the way unto Seir. You see, he went to a place called Seir, just like the goat called Seir, okay? The goat that go to hell. But Yaakov journeyed to a place called Sukkot, and he built a house, make a booth for his cattle. By the way, there's a linguistic clue here that he's going to return back in Sukkot, okay? The reconciliation between Esau and Yaakov will take yet place again in Sukkot, the feast of the ingathering. What a beautiful prophetic picture of that. Therefore, the name the place of the name of the place is called Sukkot. Okay? That is absolutely incredible. Esau is the real hero of the story. He has taken upon himself the sin of Yaakov. You want to know who's the one that got to hell? It is Esau. Okay? It is Yeshua. Okay, is the one that appeared like a wicked, cursed one. He went to be with the Goyim in order to redeem his own brethren. And matter of fact, Chazal explained the connection between those two goats like this. And and I quote some more from our sages. It says, "Velakach," next slide, "Velakach et shnei aseirim ve'amid otam lifnei Adonai." He took both of them. And notice he put them in front of Hashem. One of them was the Jewish people, in essence, prophetically. One of them was the Mashiach. It was a chance either to perish the Jewish people or to send the Messiah to hell. Okay? Hine Razal Amru, our rabbi said, that both of the goats have to look identical. Of course they have to look identical, because Mashiach is part of Israel, okay? Shneim shavim b'mireh v'koma v'damim. They look exactly the same. The rabbi said, those two goats have to look identically the same. Ve'evinu et ze, okay? They understood it, okay? Now, here's what Chazal said. And Chazal darshu, the third paragraph. V'nasa as-sair, and he took the sair, the one that is the sair is Esau, is a picture of Esau. Et kol avonotam, they're intentional, they're unintentional, in everything he took upon himself. As-sair, here's the key. Who is the one that was going for Israel, for all of Israel's sin? Ze Esau, shene'emar, as it is said, Esau, ish sair, a man who is airy, okay, full of hair, okay? Et kol avonotam. Avonotam ishtam. Avonot ishtam. Ze Yaakov shene'emar. Yaakov ishtam. Yaakov become blameless because of Esau, okay? And look what's happened to Esau as Esau lived. And it says here, it says, "Ve'notnu al bgadav," and his clothes become red. And they ask him the question, why are your clothing is red? Okay? As he ultimately become Yoshev Mechabsam. And he washed them. He's not really red. He is not really Esau. Okay, please understand that. Now back to me. He is not really Esau. Okay? He went and took the blood upon himself. He, the one that become this blood in order for the Jewish people to become clean, but then he's washing himself. The rabbis quoted Isaiah 63 here, and they asked the question, why are your clothes red in blood? Why are they red in blood? He appeared as Esau, but he is not really Esau, but he acted as Esau for the sake of the Jewish people. And that is the most ultimate thing that Mashiach, the ultimate Mashiach, had to do for Israel. And you see this picture here right in the Torah. And matter of fact, it says in the Torah, in verse 10, the very next verse, it says, but, let's look together, the goat on which the lot fell for Azazel, El, shall be set alive before the Lord to make atonement over him, to send him away for Azazel into the wilderness. And who's the one that sent to the wilderness? It's not any old goat. That's not what the Torah says. He says it's going to be Sa'ir, okay? He is going to be a Sa'ir who is sent out. Friends, I hope you get the prophetic picture that Yeshua was sent out to the Goyim. And it was sent out the going not because of his choice. He was sent out this going because of our action, our deed as the Jewish people. He had to do this in order for us to receive the Abrahamic blessings and the covenants that we still hold on to today. We are still holding this, and it's hard to believe it, but all the merits that Israel receive even today, even the non-believing Jews, is by Yeshua, because he is interceding for us today, okay? And a matter of fact, Chazal continue and they kind of conclude this, and they say this. I would like to read you one incredible passage, and it says this. It says, Hu michamat asahir, hu saro shel Edom. Not only that he had to leave Israel, he had to become the highest officer of this land called Edom, Egypt, Christianity. That's what he had to absolutely do in order for Israel to receive the ultimate merit. Shelo nichna az legamre, he did not give up at all, okay? Although he gave his life, he did not give up. Ki gam besof, in the end of the second temple, Barach as-Sa'ir, the Sa'ir went into the wilderness. Friends, let me ask you a question. When was Yeshua, quote unquote, escaping into the wilderness? The rabbis told us it's going to happen around the end of the second temple, and that is exactly when it happened. If we just look at the simple Hebrew words, we know that the name Esav, let's look at the word Esav. The word Esav equaled 376. The word Shalom is also equal 376. Who is the Prince of Peace? The Prince of Peace is the one that will take upon himself the quote unquote, he taking upon himself the role of Esav, to be rejected and to be despised, in order for Israel to receive their middle word, their Sa'ir. The Sa'ir is this goat. He became as this goat, and he took it upon himself. And that, friend, is the entire gospel good news for the Jewish people. We are in a desperate need for a high priest. Aaron come just nearly to paint a picture of the merit that he himself did not even have, to get us back to the Abrahamic covenant, to restore us back to the harp of Mashiach, to the new creation of the heaven and the earth and our own self. But it was impossible even to Aaron to complete this deed. So what God has done, he has sent us an ultimate Sa'ir, one who will resemble Israel, who will look as he is part of Israel, who is part of Israel, but he went out of the camp of Israel. And in Isaiah 63, friends, he appeared red with blood, and he's actually avenging at this point the Goyim. And the question is, why is he avenging the Goyim? He's been with the Goyim the last 2,000 years. Why is he so mad over the Goyim? Let me leave you with the thought. Just as Aaron had to be dressed in order to be received in Israel as the high priest, so Mashiach also have to be dressed up today in Edom so that he can return to home. He is taking today, there is a great revenge that he's preparing upon the nations for the one sole purpose, So for those who did not help to dress him again as the Jewish Messiah, who is ready and wanting to come back home. Friends, Achrei Mot is really a wake-up call to us today to help to get him dressed, to get him ready, to get him prepared so he can be again the high priest, the Kohen over Israel. I hope this lesson has been a blessing to you. Feel free to support us. Don't think that this is easy to put this kind of teaching. We put it because we want you to see Messiah and walk according to Mashiach. So we appreciate you to pray for us, to support us, write us your questions, and God bless you. I hope these special pearls of Torah, as we look together for these 8 and 9 notes together, will radiate the 8th note now in your life as we're looking forward to the 9th and 10th note as Mashiach return. Shalom ולהתראות.